Hello and welcome to the OrbisX video tutorial feature rundown, mind-blowing demonstration of the incredible booking form, one of the incredible features that makes OrbisX the industry-leading CRM, customer experience manager, sales tool, ultimate resource for your auto shop, detailing business, tinting shop, whatever you happen to run. This is the only tool that you would need to run your business, aside from your polishers and so on and so forth. All right, so without further ado, let's dive in. A lot of components to cover today. This is what your configuration form looks like. If you're using some other platform and your system does not look like this, it's time to switch, period. This is what the front end looks like. This is a quick rundown. Once again, if you know someone whose system does not look like this, do them a favor, help them out, even get them for Christmas a 12-month free trial. That'll help them out a lot. So, diving in, lots of stuff you can customize here. First thing you'll see is your statistics. This is going to show you your form views and your submissions. So it'll show you a nice little chart, and it'll say how many times people have viewed it, and it goes back 1 year's time. The stats are tracked forever, but it's just on this page you're able to see what happens in this current year. Now the stats only show up once you have statistics, of course. And so how do we get to this page? Under your admin tab, look for booking form settings. Click that. So two important pieces you need to know in the back end. First is booking form settings. That's how you can modify the settings. If you haven't set them up yet, when you click on your calendar, it will also pop up a link above here saying, hey, you haven't set up your booking form, and you can click that and set that up as well. When someone makes a booking request, you will find that under Clients, Booking Requests, or Leads, Booking Requests. That way you don't get lost and you can find it. Now, if someone books for a date that the system prompts and says you're unavailable, they can be added to the wait list. That would be under your waitlist tab. So, one is the most important, booking form settings. That's where you can customize everything. Two, when someone makes a booking request, it goes under your booking requests, which is accessible through Leads and Clients by clicking on booking requests. All right, so let's dive into the meat and potatoes. We'll click on our booking form settings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all the settings that are available to you and then explain how and what they do, how to set them up, what it's going to impact on the front end, how it's going to impact the artificial intelligence that scans your business, scans your calendar, scans your staff schedule, assesses what we call the heartbeat of your business by assessing staff fatigue and other type of things to suggest appointment times for your customers that make sense for your shop and your business. So, without further ado, we're going to just go through piece by piece. This is going to be a longer video in that regard because there's a lot to cover. Feel free to fast forward, rewind, lick it back, watch it again, pass it to a friend, do whatever you need to do. So, first thing you want to note is that you can always save your settings halfway through. Some things save automatically, other things you have to click Save Settings to save. So most of these things here, for example, you click Save Settings and it'll save them all. That way you can change things and then save them once you have it set up the way you want. If you want to preview what your form looks like, you can click this button here. Click it, and it's going to take you to your form and show you what your form would look like. We're going to go click this button here, which only shows up for you if you're logged in. And then you can also copy your form link if you want to email it to a customer, for example, or you want to put it as a button on your website. And you can also embed this on your website with one line of code. If we scroll down to the bottom, I'll show you here. There's this section here, website embed code. This one line of code, and you can click copy code. That is what you can paste on your website, and you can make some modifications to the width and height if you want. We default it to the recommended settings. You can also adjust the background here just for the embed if you want, because you do have an option to set a permanent background, which is here under layouts and styles. I'll go over all of that in a moment, but just to show you, you can embed this on your website with one line of code, and that'll put it on your website. So let's say we wanted to do that. We would copy this code here. We would go into our website. So for our website, we use WordPress. We use this thing called the Divi Builder. It's amazing. But regardless, whatever you're using, if you're using WordPress, let's say, you're going to see a box that looks more like this. I'll pull up the text editor. So this is what WordPress has as a box. So you wouldn't paste it here because this is, the what you see is what you get editor. So you can, do stuff like you can bold things and all that fancy stuff. So this is a visual builder within WordPress. But what you want is click on text. This is going to allow you to put in code. And that's where you can just paste that. And then that's going to now pull in your form on the page, right? So that's what you'd want to do. Depending on how your website's built, you might have different type of modules, things like that. But ultimately, you want to put in code. So for ours, we have a code module in the Divi Builder, and we just paste in that one line of code, and we click Save, Update, and then what that does is puts it right on our website. So you can see this is my shop here, Auto World, and then it'll have book your appointment now, and then it'll have the entire form is here. So I'll go over this whole process with customizing this for your shop and your business needs, but just to show you that that's how you can put that on your website. Or like I said, you can always do the copy link and you can email that to a customer, or just make a simple button as well. So we'll go to the top and we'll go top down and we'll scroll through all the options. So we've covered the booking form stats. These will show up and just tells you how many times people viewed your booking form versus how many people actually used it to submit. Helpful statistics, you can see your conversion rates. Then we went over the main buttons here: save settings, preview, copy your form link. The next thing you're presented with, and this is the first thing, is the vehicle types that you service. And this will differ depending on your particular business. So this is our demo form, so we've checked all of them off. That's why if I go back to the form, you'll see all the vehicle types are here. However, you can customize that. So right now we see planes, for example, and let's say we don't want to service planes. I can simply uncheck that, save, and then I'll reload my form, and I'll show you planes will disappear. Very simple. So planes disappears. Now with that would be any services that are only for planes if I have that set up. So for the sake of this, we're going to put back planes just to show you. But that's how you can choose the vehicles that you service, whether it's passenger vehicles, motorcycles, RVs and campers, planes, boats. You can choose those options there, and that will dictate what shows up in this section here where they choose the vehicle type. Now, we have put in some stuff that depending on what type of vehicle, for example, if they choose a boat, if you service boats, they'll be able to put in the year, make, model, as well as specify the length. So maybe it's a 142-foot yacht. They can put that in, and they can also specify the color if that happens to be important for your sales process. Now, they can also add more vehicles, and that's where they could click Add More Vehicles. They enter in the year, make, model, and they can add up to 5 vehicles at a time. So, because, let's be honest, that's it's a lot for one job. So that's how they will be able to put in the information about the vehicle types. And it's the same for RVs and campers. Motorcycles and passenger vehicles are a little bit different because these ones, we do have a database for those from the Transportation Authority. So they can actually go in and, well, in this case, it's motorcycles, so we'd have to choose Yamaha, for example. And then we'll be able to choose whatever model they have, specify the color as well, once again, if that's important for you. The vehicle one for passenger vehicles is slightly different, where they can actually, choose a color like that kind of thing. And this also does allow them to type in a particular vehicle if it doesn't happen to show up. So we'll just say Avion Aviator. We're going to make up a Aviator. There we go. So that'll actually submit to you, and you'll be able to add that into your database for the client as well. So it's very sophisticated, where it asks the right questions. What's the length of the vehicle, depending if it applies. For vehicles where it doesn't matter, it's not going to ask those questions. So that covers vehicle types. Now we'll go to the next section, which is miscellaneous options. These are for just specific global options that are tailored to your business. So for example, disable same-day booking requests. Some places they don't mind. They can handle the volume, and they say, I don't mind if people can book the same day. If you want to allow that, leave that unchecked, and that'll allow bookings for even today. So someone could book today, whether it's in the afternoon or the morning or whatever. You would allow someone to book, and then you can see if they fit in your schedule or reschedule them should you need to. If you don't want that, simply check this box and it'll disable same-day bookings. Next is bookings go direct to calendar with no approval needed. So if you want a booking request, meaning that someone fills out this form and you want it to actually create an appointment automatically in your calendar, then that's the option that you want to check. If you want to review booking requests before they go in, leave that unchecked, and then what will happen is you're gonna get a notice. You're gonna get a notice depending on your settings down here, and it'll actually send you a notice to look at the booking request. So you'll be able to go into your booking request once again under leads as well as clients. You can go in there, click on booking requests, and then you'll be able to review the details, and you'll have some options depending on if it's booked or not. This one doesn't have any options right now because it's already booked in the calendar. If it wasn't booked, you would see a little button here that says add to calendar, delete, and then it'll tell you if the deposit's been paid and so on and so forth. So when it's booked in the calendar, it shows up like this, and you can always filter based on something that's an open request. If it's booked in the calendar, if it's missing a deposit, it's been deleted, or if it's waitlisted, you can filter out booking requests like that. Going back to the settings, so that's for bookings going directly to the calendar. Now you don't have to worry about overbooking or, what if I have appointments already, things like that. The artificial intelligence is going to scan your appointments and determine the best dates that'll fit right into your calendar, and a customer will have to choose an available date or else they'll be added to the wait list, and they're going to get notified of that. We'll go over that in a moment. You will see that. So this does have overbooking protection based on limits you specify. That could be limits based on daily amounts, number of services booked per hour, services, slots with no appointments, staff schedules, so on and so forth. There's tons of limitations. You'll see them. This is the most advanced booking system out there for detailers. Absolutely. So, unavailable dates affect staff schedules. So the unavailable dates affecting staff schedules has to do with the fact that you might have business hours that are, let's say, 9 to 5, 6 days a week. That's the business hours for my shop. But then you might have some part-time staff that can come in on Sundays, for example. So if you're not available on, Sunday for your shop, maybe one staff member is for like mobile appointments or something like that, then leave this unchecked. Because if this is checked, what's going to happen is if you're closed on Sunday, even if your staff member's schedule says they're available on Sunday, it won't let the customer book that date because your unavailable dates are now affecting staff schedules. So the other dates that'll affect them are blocked dates. So keep in mind, we're looking at this one right here, unavailable dates affecting staff schedules. We'll go back to that. I'm going to show you the section. So in here, under schedules and dates, you have your business hours, but then you also have unavailable dates and staff schedules. So if we have a staff schedule, I'll click on myself, for example. I'm fixed weekly schedule, and it has my days, and I'm not available Sunday, Saturday, but I'm available these other days, okay? Now let's say under, unavailable dates, maybe, tomorrow, even though my schedule says I'm available, let's add this block date. So their list of dates marked unavailable. So tomorrow, that date's now unavailable. But in my schedule, I'm able to work. So if that option, back at the top here, if that option, unavailable dates affect staff schedules, the customer won't see my availability because the unavailable dates are affecting staff schedules, and the unavailable dates are what are specified here and what are also your business hours if you're closed on certain dates. So we're going to delete that unavailable date for now, and we'll go back up to the top. So now, disable weather check. So the disable weather check has to do with this, and I will show you. If you have it disabled, it won't show weather when a customer chooses a particular date. So for example, I'll click on detailing. Yes, come to your shop. I'm just going down here to get some dates and times. So here, for example, if I choose a date, let's say this one here, so Friday the 23rd, I choose 10 a.m., right? It's not going to pull up any weather, okay? Because we have disable weather checked, okay? As you can see, no weather pulls up. But if I uncheck that, I click save. Now let's reload this page so that it takes the new settings, okay? And then let's choose passenger vehicle, and then we're just going to say detailing. I'm just skipping through the form quickly so that I'm skipping options, sure, but I just want to show you this feature. So I click 10 a.m., for example, and there we go, it's selected, and it says here's the forecast for July 23rd. So it's going to actually show me the forecast for the date that I've chosen, and it's smart enough that it factors in the time as well. So I chose 10 o'clock. It's not going to show me weather at 7 a.m. because I'm not going to be there. Show me during my appointment. So it's going to give me the forecast. Now, this only goes 5 days in advance because beyond that, weather prediction gets really spotty. And so we have a deal. We get all of our weather stuff from the airports. So it's very accurate. And this helps for the customer if they're trying to choose a day and they're like, oh, geez, there's a snowstorm or something. You know what? Let me check a different day. So this can be helpful. It's not necessary, but it can be helpful in certain cases. You'll decide that based on your business practices, whether or not that's helpful for your business. So if you don't want that to show up, simply click Disable Weather Check and then Save. Once you do that, now you're golden. It's not going to show the weather to your customers. So if you do want it there, though, leave this option unchecked and it will show up the weather for your customers. Next options, we have new bookings, push notifications, and new bookings, email notifications. So these are how you want to receive notices that a new booking has been made. If you don't want any notice to be received and you're just going to check every day, by all means, uncheck them. If, however, you do want to receive notifications, maybe you're using the app and you just want push notices. I don't want an email, just push notice. Boom. You set that, you're going to get a ding on your phone just like you would with, WhatsApp or Messenger or anything else. You're going to get a notice on your phone and it's going to tell you about the new booking and you can click it and it'll take you right to view that booking. Now, you can also do the same for emails as well, and it works the same way. You can leave both and you'll receive both. That way you never miss a booking. That would probably be the best option, but it depends on your personal preferences. Now the next option, moving along, display logo on booking form. So right now, if we go to the booking form and we go to the top, there's no logo here because this is designed to be embedded on your website. And so on your website, it would look something like this, where you have it on your website, but I already have a logo on my shop website, so I don't need a logo on the form. But now, let's say you do want it there, simply check this box, hit Save Settings, and this is useful if you're just linking to the form or sending it to customers by email. So check that box, and then if we refresh, it's going to put our logo at the top, okay? When I say our logo, it's going to put your logo, whatever you've uploaded in your profile. But in this case, we're in the OrbisX demo account, it's going to upload that logo there. So let's go back. Let's just uncheck that option. All right. Moving along, we've got global location settings. So this is the type of business that you are. Mobile appointments only, shop appointments only, or maybe you're like our shop and you do both, shop and mobile appointments. Okay. Now here's the thing. At our shop, we do mobile and shop appointments, but we only do certain services mobile. Don't worry. You can change all that down below for each service and each package. So these are your settings based on your business. So just decide globally, do you do mobile only, shop only, or both? If you check both, then what's going to happen is under the Our Place or Yours, it's going to show come to our shop or mobile service. If you only offer one, this section will be hidden unless you only do mobile, then it's going to hide this and just show you this section here because you only do mobile. So it won't give the user the option, the customer the option. It's just going to show one or the other. If you're like our shop and you do both, then it'll show both. Okay. So shop settings. If you have a shop, maybe you offer, pickup and drop off. A lot of places do that. So you can turn this on or off. If you turn it on, I'll show you what that looks like. Save settings, and we'll go back to the form, refresh the form, and if I click come to our shop, would you like a ride? Pick up and drop off needed. Okay, if they check that, then you're going to know, oh, the customer would like a pickup or a drop off. Pretty simple stuff. So very helpful if your business does offer pickup and drop off. We're going to turn that off for now. We'll go back, save settings. Okay. Next here is mobile settings. So I'm sure you can see the theme here. There's global location settings. This is your overall location. Then we have shop, and then we have mobile. Depending on what your business is, there's different options available. So under mobile settings, do you want to ask if they have water available? Do you want to ask if they have electricity available? This is a big topic for a lot of mobile detailers. Some guys don't want to even bother with the customer's water. They don't even want to ask. They think it's rude or something like that. Other people say, no, it's perfectly fine. My customers don't have a problem. This is entirely up to you, and it's your business. Run it the way you want. So if you want to ask for water, ask if there's water available. If you don't want that option to show up, you can toggle that off. Not a problem at all. You can leave it there and let the customer answer or not answer. That's fine. There's also some other questions that are very important for mobile detailers, such as, is a garage available? Ask if they have dogs. Maybe there's dogs you have to be aware of when you show up. Ask if they have a driveway available, and ask if it's a commercial property. Those are the most important things that you're going to need to know as a mobile detailer when you're going to the appointment. It can be very helpful. So how that looks, we'll just refresh the form. If they click mobile service, it's going to, of course, ask them for their address. And of course, we don't want customers typing out a whole bunch of stuff. So Google comes to the rescue here and pre-populates everything for you. And then these are the options that you have checked off in the back end. So is there power available? Yes. Water? Yes. Garage? Commercial building? Do you have dogs? So on and so forth. So the customer can easily click these at will depending on what they need. Okay, or sorry, what they have available for you. Okay. If you toggle one of these off, that question just simply won't show up. So for example, ask if water is available. Let's turn that off. Okay. Now let's refresh, and then we click on mobile service, and now it's not asking if there's water available. Very simple. You can customize the form to your liking. Okay. So let's turn it back on, just because there are people that check out the demo form. It's nice for them to see that option. So the next section under mobile, so here we're back under mobile settings, furthest you will travel for free. This is important. You can leave this blank if you'll go anywhere for free. That's fine. I do recommend, of course, just good business practices, that you do have a limit. And this here, kilometers, it's set to kilometers for this account, but you can change that under your settings. The default is actually the imperial system, so this would show miles. So you don't have to worry about that. The system does all the calculations for you. And all you'd have to do is specify how far you will travel for free. So maybe you're willing to go, in this case, we'll say 50 kilometers. For you, it might be, 50 miles, whatever the case may be. You can put that number here, okay? Now, I'm going to put it back to 3 just because I'm going to show you this next section here and how it impacts. The furthest you'll travel for free, well, outside of that, it's good to give the customer an idea of what the cost would be. So, address to measure distance from. So this is where you would put in your address. That's your home base starting point. This is hidden as specified here. The customer does not see this address, okay? So put in that address because it needs a point of reference. And what's going to happen is this is going to be converted to latitude, longitude, okay? And then that will then calculate the distance between your customer's address and your address, and it'll prompt them with a surcharge. Now, the distance cost outside service area is your surcharge. So what is your price per kilometer over your free distance that you want to charge? So in this case, we have it set to 3 kilometers. If I set this to $3 per kilometer, if the customer lives 10 kilometers away, it's going to charge them $3 times 7 for the extra kilometers, because 7 plus the 3 free kilometers, right? So it's going to charge them that, and it's going to display. So in this case, we're going to go back to the form, and I'll show you how that works. So let's refresh the form just to make sure everything's fresh. Mobile service, okay, and let me just enter in a very far address here. I think this one will be further away. Boom. And you can see address populated, and then this little box appeared. And it says service address is outside of our defined service radius. A $3 per kilometer surcharge applies for a total surcharge of $42. So it's calculated the distance from their address to the boundary of our free address, and it's saying, okay, you're outside of that range, $3 is getting charged per kilometer outside of that, or per mile, depending on the system unit that you have set up in your account. And so this is a great way to let the customer know there's no surprises, and it also gets stored on the booking request so that you know, okay, they're outside of my area, but maybe you don't know how far away an address is. But then if it tells you, it'll say, on the service notes, it'll actually tell you the customer's being charged a surcharge of $42 because it's $3 a kilometer, and they're outside of that radius and da da da. It'll specify that for you so that you're aware. That way everything's fair. It's fair with the customer and it's fair with you, right? So that's what this little box setting is here. The furthest you'll travel for free, address to measure distance from, which is hidden from the customer because you're a mobile detailer. You don't want them to know where your house is or something like that. And the distance cost outside of your service area. Now, the one cool thing about this, the address to measure distance from, is maybe you live outside of the city, but all your customers are inside the city. So you could actually specify a point that you usually go to within the city as your distance to measure from, because that way you'll cover the whole city if you do a circle radius from that point, right? So this is just something to consider that you can use to your advantage that way as well. So moving to the next section, we have deposits. 3 options for deposits. Don't ask for them. Use fixed amounts, which would be a fixed dollar amount. So it could be, $45, $100, whatever. It's always going to be the same. Or you can use service deposit amounts. Now that will actually take your services and packages, and you'll be able to specify deposits per service and per package. And that will get calculated and factor in and show the customer what their deposit would be. Now, if you choose fixed deposits, that would be this box here, fixed deposit amount. So whatever you specify here, that's going to be the amount. So in this case, on this form, we have fixed deposit saved. So if we go back to our form, you'll see here, secure appointment with a deposit of $45. So it's telling you can secure the appointment with a deposit of $45 because we've specified here, used fixed amount for deposits, and we set it to $45. Now, if we do use service deposit amounts, okay, for the services and packages, it's a good idea to specify a max deposit amount, because if, let's say, you have 10 services and you put each deposit at $100 and someone books all 10 services, it's going to tell them the deposit's $1,000, but maybe you only want a maximum deposit of $500. So if you put this here, it'll keep adding up all the sums of your services and packages deposits that the customer selected for their appointment until it reaches your max deposit amount. If you don't specify an amount here, it'll just keep adding them up until it reaches the end of all the services and packages. So there's a little help box here as well that gives you an example and explains that as well, should you forget. Now, deposit terms. You can leave this blank or you can specify something. Once again, a help box tells you where it's going to be. And this little blurb, we've just put in some some Latin text here, but this little blurb will show up under the deposit box. So on the form again, you can see here it is here, and it shows up underneath. This is a good place where you could put in some terms like, deposits are non-refundable, or whatever your terms happen to be. You can specify them here, and it'll show up on your form. Now, moving along, the final box in our main settings is upsells. Do you want to have upsells offered? Do you want to turn them off? Should you show starting at price for upsells? So I'll show you what this looks like, because right now upsells are turned on. Let me just refresh the form. And let's choose a service. I think detailing has one assigned. I'll choose detailing and I'll scroll down. This is the upsell section. Get the most out of your appointment. It doesn't say upsells or add-ons. That's not really good sales verbiage. So we said get the most out of your appointment. And then it says $60, and they can select that, and it's going to add it to the appointment, right? Now, if let's say this is a fixed price, $60, but maybe it's not a fixed price. Well, that's where you can specify show starting at for upsells. So if I check that box and save, what we're going to do is refresh the form, and where it says 60, that's now going to say starting at. So we'll refresh the page, I'll go back, select detailing, and then we're going to scroll down. Now, get the most out of your appointment, it says starting at $60 instead of just $60 because we enabled starting at. Pretty cool feature, because a lot of things, especially in this industry, it requires a starting at. Absolutely. So we're going to turn that off for now, and we'll go back and save that. Okay. The other option is you can completely turn off upsells if you don't want to, ask for upsells at all. You can do that as well. And where you add your upsells, just while we're here, under marketing, because it's a marketing tactic, click upsell automation, and that's where you'll be able to add your upsells. There's a whole video on that as well, separate video, but it goes over how to add upsells, and then they'll appear. Those upsells will appear depending on what they've chosen. Like in this case, we chose, I'm back at the form now, we chose detailing, but I think there's one for tinting as well. I'll click tinting. And yeah, there is. So here was the windshield one. Here's interior cleaning got added because we selected tinting. So your upsells will appear depending on what services they've checked or unchecked, right? So unchecked tinting, and now it goes back, it's just the one upsell. So that's essentially how that works. And we just concluded the general settings for the booking form. Lots of info there, but that's essentially the basics of getting that part of the form set up, tailored to your business. Now, before we jump into services and packages, I'm going to jump into the layout and styles real quick and just go towards this. So if we scroll down in the form, you'll see layouts and styles, and this is where you can customize each of those headings. So the heading, for example, with upsells, get the most out of your appointment, you can actually customize this. So if you do like the word add-ons, like you could just put add-ons, save that, and now this text will be replaced by add-ons. You can customize so many different things on this form. So it tells you all the headings, and it even has help boxes beside each one to tell you where it's going to be on the form. So you can make your changes and then preview it to make sure that it looks the way you want it to. So even the do you need a ride, right now it says would you like a ride, but you could change that to something else. You could change it to do you need a pickup? Question mark. You know what I mean? You could do whatever you want. So you can customize the headings. Similarly, on the top and bottom of the form, you'll see at the top here and then at the very bottom right here, there's some text. That text you can edit. So this is the text block before form, and little help thing that tells you where it is. That's your text there. Then the text block after the form. That's your text block there. The only text you won't be able to change or modify on the bottom is the privacy and data collection notice, which is a requirement for various state laws and provincial laws for data collection. And it just basically helps get you out of hot water because you are collecting people's personal information, such as their email and phone number, right? For the purposes of communication. So that section, the layout and styles, is right above the website embed code and the booking form link that we looked at before. But now we can jump into the services and packages. So under services, this is the core part of your business. These are the main services you offer, and think of them like your main categories. You have ceramic coating, detailing, engine detailing, headlight restoration, paint correction, paint protection film, tinting, windshield replacement. These are the services we offer at our shop, Auto World. Your shop or your business will be a little bit different depending on the services and products that you offer particularly. But these are your main services. They're not your packages. Underneath those, you have packages. And this is where these would be things like, if you have the Platinum package, and that's a detailing service, let's say. So that's where you'd put your packages, is down here. And your main services are here, and those are set under your settings. It's one of the first things you set up when you get your account. So these are your core services that show up. And I'll show you where they show up here. So under here, services and packages, and it's these ones here that show up. The packages show up underneath the particular service. So in this case, ceramic coating, view ceramic coating packages, and it'll show the ceramic coating packages. Similarly, detailing does the same thing, and then tinting does the same thing as well, right? So your packages would go underneath your services. Now, it is possible for someone to book just the package without actually clicking on the service itself, right? That's a possibility. They can also click both. Now, in those cases, this is 4 hours, this is 5 hours, but if they chose this, but they're getting the package, so they're just doing this, it won't factor in this time because they're getting the package, right? So you don't have to worry about all that. The system handles all that stuff for you. So under services, the most important part of this is to get it to show up on your actual form, you have to make it bookable. So this section here, bookable, all of these are unchecked. You have to actually check this to have it show up. And you can see at the bottom, booking services added. So it tells you when it's updated. That's the most important part, because during certain times of the year, you might have a service that isn't, bookable online, or maybe you have a service that is difficult to have booked online. So you just don't allow that one to be booked online. You book it yourself on the phone or Messenger or whatever, and then you enable the other ones. So enabling the particular service to be booked online is very important. So you have to do that if you want it to show up on your form. The next parts are configuration options. And because there's so many options for each service and package, we've kind of put them in a pop-up for each one. So, for example, let's go to detailing. Okay, so locations. This is where if I click locations, you can get very specific. So maybe detailing, we do both shop and mobile appointments. Okay, so you can choose based on what you do, and it says, where can customers book appointments? Mobile, shop, or both, right? But maybe something like ceramic coating, we only do at the shop. So in that case, we would do shop appointments only. And then we would save that, and that would be only for the shop. That's basically how you can, customize this per service as well as per package. You can do the same functions you're seeing here are the same ones you can do for packages as well. So here, for example, this is a ceramic coating service. It's the silver package. So we'll click locations, and you could make per package, you could make that mobile or shop or both. You can get really specific with packages and with services, and you can do it for each of them. And the system will figure out all the logistics for you. So moving on from locations, we have vehicles. Vehicles, similar to locations, you can limit which vehicles this will show up for. So in this case, detailing only shows up for passenger vehicles and motorcycles. It doesn't show up for boats, for example. So what that means is on the front end here, if I go back here, we have boats, and we can see I have detailing, right? But now if I click boats and we go down, you're going to see detailing is not there anymore because there is no detailing available for boats, okay, in the back end. So when we go back here and we click on vehicles, you'll see motorcycles, passenger vehicles, but not available for boats, okay? So you can easily change that. You can do that specifically so the detailing, I can make this available, to these two, but then I could go down and maybe the silver packet, or here, I need a detailing one. Here's the standard. Maybe the standard is available for motorcycles, but not passenger vehicles. Like, you can get really specific, and you can do that on a per package as well as on a per service level, okay? Now we'll go back to detailing just because that's the one we're working with. Next step is limitations. This is where most of the magic happens for you as a detailer, trying not to overbook your shop, okay? So first question, are there booking restrictions for this service? Very important question. Some things don't have any restrictions. You can say no limits, book at any time. Maybe it's detailing, but you've got 50 plus staff. You can handle a ton of jobs. So throw them all at me. We'll take them all, and if we have to reschedule someone, we will. But that's where you could set that to no limits, book anytime. The other option is to limit by staff member, okay? If I click limit by staff member, it's going to pull up your staff members, and it's going to ask which staff member's calendar should be used. So this is where you can choose a particular staff member, and then it's going to use their staff schedule. It's going to ignore your other limits because it's going by that staff member's schedule, and it won't overbook them because they can only do one thing at a time. So it's going to book them sequentially. So any slot that they have booked up, if they're booked up for 4.5 hours on Monday, it's going to only offer appointments outside of that 4.5 hour block on Monday and other days depending on their schedule. So that's where, if you limit by staff member, it's going to use their schedule that's set. And just to show you where that was again, so if we go down here, and they can set their own schedules as well. It's in the back end. They simply click on my account. They can add their hours unless you restrict that, and then they can't. And then you'd have to manage it for them. But you can always adjust schedules here as well. So is it a fixed weekly schedule, or is it a variable schedule where they have certain days that they're working, and you can simply, enter in this is a day off, or put in their hours, whatever they happen to be working. So you have full control of their schedule here as well. So you can use their staff schedule. If it's fixed weekly, it's just every week, and you can change this anytime. But essentially, it'll use those hours that are set for that particular staff member. if that option is chosen. So we'll go back to detailing, limitations. So limit by staff member, that's how that's going to work there. Now, limit by time and dates. This one is a little more complicated, but offers the most flexibility for your shop. I think that, like at our shop, most of our services are set up this way because the way that our staffing is done, except for like part-time guys that do specific services or something. Those, it'll work on their schedule, but for the most part, most of our, like we have multiple staff for each service, so it's fine. And we limit by time and date usually. So the first question, which days of the week can this service be booked? Okay, at least one is required, or it will enable any day. So if you don't check off any options that this can be booked, it'll assume it can be booked all the time. Okay, so if you only want this service to be booked on Mondays and Wednesdays, then you're going to want to change those to, uncheck the other options, right? But if you want it booked the, other days that you're open, check those options off, okay? Now, are there any daily limits for this service? Now for these, anytime you have a question, there's a little help box here that explains what these are, but I'll go over them in detail. So, are there any daily limits for this service? If, let's say, you can only allow 10 bookings per day of this particular service. So we're on the detailing one, remember? So see, detailing. So maybe we can only take 10 detailing bookings per day, okay? So that's where we would set that there. Then you can get more specific. Are there any same service limits for this service? So maybe using just this first option, someone would be able to book 10 detailing appointments in the same hour. So literally for 10 a.m., someone could book 10 of them. The minute number 11 tries, it's going to say, sorry, we're fully booked up during that time slot, right? Unless you also add this. Are there any same service limits for this service? So we could say allow 2 at a time. Maybe you have 2 detailers that can bang out 10 detailings a day, but you can only do 2 at a time. They each handle 1, let's say, okay? Then that's where you set this. What that means then is that for the first example I gave you, if someone goes to book 10 detailings, 10 customers go to book detailings for 10 a.m., the first one will go through, the second one will go through, the third one, it's going to say 10 a.m. is no longer available because you're only allowing 2 at a time for the same service, okay? Now, what about other services? What if you're doing a ceramic coating, but someone's trying to book a detailing for 10 a.m.? Well, that's this section here, appointment overlapping. So let's say if you're doing, a detailing, you can only take a detailing appointment in time slots that have no appointments. Well, set it to no appointments. Or do you want to allow all overlaps? Let them book regardless of whatever service is going on, as long as it meets these criteria, these first 2, right? Or choose time slots with 2 or fewer appointments, or time slots with 9 or fewer appointments, and it goes all the way up to 20, okay? So and this would be at the exact same time, 20 jobs going on in the exact same time slot, okay? So if you set that to 2, for example, okay, and then you set this to no same service limits, using the example I gave earlier where someone's, some customers are trying to book for 10 a.m., what would happen is this. So you're allowing 10 per day, so by that rule, 10 customers could book a detailing at 10 a.m. on the same day. Then you come here, same service limits. There's no same service limits, so okay, the 10 people could still book at 10 a.m. because it's not 11. Then, appointments overlapping, time slots with 2 or fewer appointments. And let's say you've got a ceramic coating at 10 a.m. So then the first person out of the 10 will be able to book an appointment at 10 a.m. because it's a time slot with 2 or fewer appointments, okay? The second person will then go and try and book for 10 a.m. and it won't allow them. It's going to suggest other dates because you have 2 bookings in that time slot, okay? Now, the time slots are calculated based on the time it takes to complete the service. So that's where you specify, let me just cancel out of this. We'll go back to the detailing one because that's what we're working at. So money and time. Money and time, Under here, how long does this service take? So 2 hours. So that means if there's one booked at 10 a.m., that slot basically finishes at noon because it takes 2 hours for that service. Okay. Now, do you need extra time after the service? Maybe for travel time or cleanup or something like that in between appointments. That's where you set it to 30 minutes. So then the time block becomes 2 hours and 30 minutes instead of 2 hours. Okay. Does the service require a deposit? That's if it requires a deposit, and it goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, where you're using the service deposit amounts, and I suggested that you put the max deposit amount in there as well. So that's where this would factor in if you want deposit amounts calculated and totaled up based on the services that they choose, and not just a fixed amount. That's where this would come in. Then, how much does the service cost? You don't have to put a price. You could have people just book without seeing any pricing. That's fine. But you could also put in a price, let's say $545, and then do you want to show starting at, yes or no? So you have that option as well. I think it's always a good idea to put pricing, but put starting at. I think it's a good price point, but give the customer some sort of ballpark, and it helps eliminate, people that just cannot afford your services at all, or don't see the value, or it gives you an opportunity to, push to the right demographic, depending on who your demographic is. But at the same time too, putting the price, there's no surprises for the customer. So I do recommend that, and then just put show starting at, because everything does vary. There's variables here. But it's up to you. You can leave that blank. You can completely blank that out. That's fine. We'll just close it. I'm not going to save that. But the last piece of the puzzle here is variables. So detailing has one set. So I'll click variables. Which variables should be requested for this service? So in this case, we have detailing mess levels. Now there's a few to choose from, and it just depends on what you're offering. So I have these set for different services. I'll show you what they look like on the form, but in this case, detailing mess levels. And so if you want to see what that looks like, we're going to go select detailing on the front end. So let's refresh this page, and we're going to choose detail. Well, first I'll show you. We scroll down, and you can see there's not much left of the form, but if I click detailing, now you'll see it adds this. What's your vehicle's condition? Is it a level 1 mess where it's not so bad? The front's kind of clean, the inside's not too bad. Is it a level 2? It's getting a little bit messier, but still not so bad. Or is it a level 3? This is basically a hot mess, okay? So depending on which level it is, the customer can choose. And that way too, if they select level 2 and they show up and they've clearly got a level 3, you can have that conversation with them because they saw the different levels and be like, listen, you saw the levels, you're a level 3 here. You know what I mean? So so that's where that helps to be able to collect that information. Now, similarly, there's other options there, as you saw. If I click variables for a second, there's paint correction levels, tinting shades, and paint protection film coverages. Okay, so at our shop, for example, we offer tinting. So if I click tinting, a big question we need to find out from the customer is what shade they want. So here we have 50, 35, 20, 5%, and that would be for all around. Then we have 5% rear, 50 in front, 5 rear, 35 front, 5 rear, 20 in front, 20 rear, 50 front, 20 rear, 35 front, and then 35 and 50 front. And then we also ask, do you want the existing tint removed? Yes or no. Like if you have tint to remove, that's going to cost extra, but we can do it, no problem. So, and then they could choose what tinting shade that they want for their job. So that would be for the tinting one. And let me just uncheck these to clear it. Paint protection film. So if I click that, we're going to get some PPF done. In this case, it's asking for 2 of them because we need to know, like, what's your vehicle's paint condition? Is it light, medium, or there's severe swirls, right? Depending on what they choose, that's going to dictate the paint correction that's needed. And then what PPF coverage they want. Do they want partial hood, partial front, or full body, right? So they can choose those options or choose the option that determines what they want for their vehicle, right? So that covers those different levels. And similarly, like this here, the paint condition, if I uncheck paint protection film and I go to, maybe I don't have that one enabled. Let me go enable that one. Paint correction enabled. Okay, refresh. All right, there we go. Paint correction. So if I click that, it's going to also ask the the vehicle's paint condition, because if I go to paint correction and I click variables, you're going to see that it's got, once it loads, my internet may have some trouble right now. Paint correction. Oh no. Well, there we go. Internet's back up. Good. Paint correction. So which variables should be requested for the service, and we have paint correction levels. And that's why it asks here what paint correction levels there are. Now this title here you can customize as well. So if you don't want it to say that, you can go down here, layout and styles, and oh, you know what? I haven't added that one in yet. All right, so that one will be added in so that you can do that one as well. All right, now scrolling up. So we covered locations, vehicles, limitations, money and time, as well as variables. Okay, so lots of different things you can customize. This is probably the one you're going to want to spend the most time on, is the limitations and figuring out. The other ones are easy, like locations. Like, do you do this in your shop, mobile, one or the other? Same thing, vehicles, like which vehicles. But the limitations, that's the big one where you got to figure out, you know, how many do I want to do per day, or can I do per day? How many of the same service? What about overlapping, stuff like that, right? So moving on to packages, it's the exact same for packages. So locations, choose vehicles, you choose limitations, it's the exact same. So you can get really fine-tuned with your booking process by choosing these different options, right? I think I did that one already. And then variables, same thing. So you can get really, really fine-tuned from your services all the way down to your packages. And then to add packages, it's really simple. You click this button here, add package, give it a name, choose the service it belongs to. So maybe it's a detailing package. So give it a name, choose a service. Does this package require a deposit? How much does this package cost? Should I show starting at for the price? How long does it take on average? And then what are the, the package details? And this is where you can put in like what's included, like exterior wash. Yeah, I have a typo there. But you can put in all your stuff that's included and then save the package, right? Same thing for editing a package. You can go here, edit the package. It populates with all the information, update package, and you're good to go. And then you can also make them bookable or not bookable simply by toggling this on and off, just how you did for services, okay? And then you can delete them as well. So the good thing is, let's say you make a package and it's a promotion, like a Valentine's Day promo. The good news is you don't have to add that every year, and you don't have to go and delete it. You can just turn it off. So that's why that's put in there. So you can just turn it off, turn it on. You can have different things running different times of the year, or if you have promos or what have you, you can turn them on and off anytime that you need. And then you can also edit the details anytime as well. So that covers packages and services. That was a huge part of this whole thing. So it's one of the biggest parts of your business, of course. So now moving on to schedules and dates. So schedules and dates, this one's pretty easy. You put in your business hours and you can update this anytime, and then it'll automatically update in the calendar for the booking form. So you can come in here and you put in your hours, like Fridays, it's this time to this time. Are we closed? Are we open? Stuff like that. And then unavailable dates, we touched on this briefly, but basically you can, add a single date. So, okay, we're closed tomorrow, block date. But then you can also add date ranges. Let's say for some reason, I don't know, maybe you're doing renovations and you're closed for a month. So, okay, so we click here and we could go to August. So go August 1st till September 1st, let's just say, right? And then if I click block dates, it's going to automatically add a bunch of block dates here for that date range, right? Then next thing, staff schedules. So this is where you can see all your staff schedules, and each one can be different. I've used mine here quite a bit, fixed schedule or variable. So let's say I'm on fixed. Okay, but then if I click on a different employee, oh, that's fixed as well. This one, fixed. Okay, all of those are fixed. All right, let's take this test one and we'll just do variable. Okay, so now if I click on mine, it shows fixed. But then if I click on test, it shows variable. And so it'll show depending, and it'll give you 2 months in advance that you can go and schedule their stuff in. Beyond 2 months, it starts to get a little unsure. You're not really sure. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 2 months with that person's schedule. So it's always best to make sure that it's current and not try and plan life out that far ahead. But if you are concerned about 3 months down the road, stuff like that, then have your employee go and add their schedule on their profile. They can actually add a little bit longer time frames. But really the downside of that is that they might set it and forget it and not come back. And the problem is it's better that they show unavailable versus them showing available, and then you getting a booking, and then you're like, oh my God, we can't actually do this booking. It's better you stay on top of the schedule rather than set and forget it kind of thing. But unless you're doing, of course, fixed weekly schedule, that's different. Okay, layout and styles. We touched on this a bit. You can change the booking form title. So by default, it says book your appointment now. You can change that to whatever you want. You can also change the background color. In this case, I made it black just so that I could show you embedded on our website. It shows up black, but let's say I change this to red, for example, save settings, and then I'll show you if I refresh here. 1 second. So now you can see it's in red, so you can completely customize your booking form, and it'll take place instantly, even when it's embedded on your website, which is pretty cool. So let me set that back to black. All right, save. Perfect. And then we also covered, if I scroll down here, we covered the text blocks above and below the form. And we touched on the website embed code, which leaves us 2 last pieces to go over today. So one is your Google Analytics tracking codes. You can actually paste Google Analytics in here, and it'll track your stats as well. So it'll give you much more stats than what's available at the top here. At the top here, you just have how many people looked at it and how many people submitted. So you can view those stats on the chart, but Google Analytics will give you a ton of more information, so you have that option available to you as well. And all you have to do is just paste in your Google Analytics code here, hit save, and then it'll be on your form moving forward. So that was one of the last pieces. Now the last piece is going over the AI suggested dates. So let me just refresh this. So the customer has to put in usual things like their name, phone number, email, of course. They choose a vehicle, they enter in their details. If they didn't find a vehicle, they can click here. If they need to add more vehicles, they can click here. They choose their services and packages. So, let's say they take a look at stuff and they, oh, great, I need that plus tinting. And then they choose, if it's come to the shop or mobile service. If they've selected multiple services, but it's only available, like in this case, important. Some selected services are only available at our shop. So it defaults to shop because they're only available there, right? Now, let's say this one's shop service. Let's find one that's, okay, mobile service only. So if I choose that, paint correction. Now it changes this notice and it says important. Some selected service are both mobile only and shop only. It defaults to the shop because it's like, okay, in that case, it's better that you get the booking and then they're going to come to the shop and get these services done, and then you could go and finish this mobile at their place or something like that. But at least it gives them the warning that this is why it was selected that way. And then if there are services that you offer in both locations, like windshield replacement here, for example, there's no warning at all. Sorry, live chat coming in. So in terms of the notice, they'll see like come to our place or the shop. And that's all based on what stuff is chosen. Now, if you only do mobile, for example, it's not going to show these little options. Like it's not even going to show come to our shop, and it won't show the warning if you do this because you only do mobile. Similarly, if you only do shop, it'll do the same. This is only for cases where your shop will offer mobile services as well. Or if you're mobile and have a shop, basically, because in that case, there's some services that you may do in one location and not the other, or vice versa. Because like shops like ours, for example, we primarily only do detailing at our shop. It would have to be a rare occasion for us to do something mobile, but we do a lot of other services mobile, including like windshield replacement, for example. So we have a big Sprinter van. We do mobile replacements for windshields. Chip fix, things like that. We do tinting at some dealerships, but in terms of detailing, we do that primarily at our shop. So that's where for us, these kind of notices are really important to show to the customer. So that's how that works. We've covered all these, which are the variables per vehicle chosen, and then we come down to here, where desired date and time. And so the AI scans the system and determines based on your current bookings, staff schedules, staff fatigue, takes a look at your overlap limits, your same service limits, daily limits, and so forth, and it makes suggested dates to the customer that they can choose from a list. So July 26th, July 27th, even though we're open on the 23rd, for example, in this demo account, it's not showing that as an option because we've checked off these services here, and it's calculating that based on the fact that we need detailing, and that's 2 hours, we need tinting, and that's 3 hours, and then we also need a windshield replacement done, and because basically what's in the shop already, it's suggesting that the 23rd isn't a good time because there's not enough time for us to get all of that stuff done for them with the other jobs that are there. So it makes suggestions on other dates. Now, because we close on the 26th, we close at 5 p.m., it's also suggesting a latest appointment of 12 p.m., whereas on the 27th, we're open an hour later, you can see it's suggesting 12:30 and 1 p.m. because the system realizes that. And similarly, we have these appointments in the morning, because on the 26th, there's other time slots that are booked up in the morning for that particular bay that is handling those jobs. So the customer would have the option to choose, let's say like 9 a.m., and then it's going to say selected 9 a.m. And that's how the suggested dates work. And it goes through and makes quite a few suggestions of dates and times. And like I said, the AI is very powerful, and it assesses so many different things for your business to make sure that you're booking jobs that you can actually get done. But as well as jobs that can be done sooner for the customer and sooner for you guys, get that cash in the piggy bank, but it does allow customers to check a date as well. So let's say, for example, the customer really wants to, sometime sooner than the 26th, right? So let's say they choose the 23rd, okay? But it's going to pull up the business hours that we have for that day. And so I could choose like 12 p.m. But then it says, we are unavailable on July 23rd at 12 p.m. You can still submit an appointment request for this time, and you will be placed on our wait list in case there's a cancellation or rescheduling. Alternatively, you can choose another date and time. And it leaves them with the suggested dates that they can choose, but then they could try like, okay, well, not the 26th, let me, try a different time. But what's cool is if they choose a time that does work, it'll highlight it here too for them. So like, let's say I choose the 26th, right? And now it defaults to 8 a.m., highlights there. Then if I choose 10 a.m., it updates to 10 a.m. and that's the selected date now because the system has determined that that's available. So it's a really sophisticated booking algorithm. It's using our patented AI technology that's just like out of this world. So it scans everything about your business to make suggested dates, and it goes well beyond the, I only want one appointment at a time kind of thing. This allows you to get very, very drilled down to a service and a package level, as well as factor in your staff schedules. And the AI, like I said, it even factors in staff fatigue. So it takes a look to see, like, does your staff usually complete jobs faster towards the end of the week? Are you booking more jobs towards the start of the week? Are you halfway through the week? Maybe you guys kind of hit a lull and you can't handle as many jobs usually, or it scans all these things and assesses it and builds a profile about your business and determines viable dates based on the health and the heartbeat of your business, as well as the limitations that you've set in the background as well. So it's a really sophisticated AI robot that's been built from the ground up. It's been a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end, and you guys get to benefit from that and run a smooth business, a smooth operation. So that is essentially how the booking form works, start to finish. That's everything. There will, of course, I'm sure still be some questions you'll have, and that's where this video can come in helpful. Later down the road, you can reference it again should you need a refresher or you forget how to do something. So definitely bookmark this video, save it, bookmark it, share it, pass it to a friend, and definitely, if you know some detailers out there that are using some of the outdated software that's out there, without mentioning names, be sure to pass them this along, because this can truly help their business.